because we were building for everybody.
Just for the person who was in front of you.
Yeah. We didn't really make enough income. Well, when you don't know yourself who you are, how can people then know who you are?
This is Ingrid and Frans, founders of Viver Homes, custom home builders in Hervey Bay.
But I think they've seen some of the footage or whatever they've seen.
Yeah.
They sort of tend to know us already before they come in.
It's just a total different clientele that is actually starting to get in contact. The last couple of jobs that we have done and actually are doing, they are all the work that we want to do.
Ingrid, Frans, thank you very much for coming in today and driving to come have this chat. And thank you for working with us and trusting us this last year.
It's always really nice just to come here, and everybody is always so welcoming, and it actually feels really, really, if we are part of something, everything that you do. So good.
Fantastic. Well, I wanted to maybe jump in just to help the audience get to know you guys a bit before we start chatting. A bit about your background, which I think is really unique, and that's something I've yet to come across any two builders that are the same in terms of their background. And
I can imagine.
But tell us a bit about where you guys originated from and where that sort of led things to.
All right. We've both been born in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And my background is I'm actually a third generation builder. So my granddad was already a builder, and my dad took over the business, and I took over his business. And about 25 years ago, was a bit like, so we were in a stage in our lives, so what are we going to do now? What are we going to do next? And then it sort of was brought up that we had the idea to migrate to Australia.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, when you then actually did the migration, then it's like, what are we going to do now? How do we want to set up?
And you migrated, you stayed, and Ingrid, you came over first.
Yeah, there's a bit of a story to it, and actually it is a nice story to tell because the story is built on trust, and that's something that is actually really, really important being a builder. When we decided to migrate to Australia, Frans is from a little village, and the butcher in town heard that we were migrating, and he said to him, like, you really can't do that because you promised me you're going to build my house. And he is like, well, I think Ingrid already bought the ticket, so I just can't do that. And of course,
that's how it happened.
The butcher said, like, well, what are you going to do there? Are you going to build again? And he says, yes, I will. Well, he says, I just really need you to build my house because I just trust you. I trust your dad, and I even knew your granddad. Like, you have to build my house. So anyway, so Frans came to me and he says, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
I said, well, we can probably do with a bit of money. And I already go with the kids.
Yeah.
And
And how many kids were with you when you immigrated out then?
4.
4.
So my English was really, really bad. And I said, well, at least when I'm there with the kids, I can learn English, like there's no interruption, and you can just build the house.
Focus on building for the butcher and get it done.
And that's sort of what we did.
Wow.
Yep. So that's what we did.
And then when you moved out here, the plan was to keep building?
Yes, but we were going to do it in a sort of in a different way for ourselves, because the main reason we came out was to actually spend some more time with the kids and our family as such, because we were working all the time, and most builders are like me, are always busy and don't think about the private life or the family, what goes with it.
Because you were both running
two businesses. Yes, we had two businesses.
Yeah.
Ingrid had a hardware store, and I had a building business. And then, so we never had a lot of time for the kids except for the holidays. But like the normal things in life, there was never time because I was working or the shop was open. That was just how it was. And when we came out here, we wanted to spend some more time with them, and we just wanted to be independent of let's say the normal trading thing, sort of. And so we started with doing spec homes for ourselves.
Yeah.
That gave us the freedom that we actually were looking for, so that we could take time off when we needed it, or when we felt like it, or when the kids needed us one of us, whatever.
Yeah.
And that worked really well for quite some time.
But it was also needed, like, to actually, because the way they build in the Netherlands is totally different than the way they build in Queensland. So before you start working for people, like, you really need to take your time to learn all the ins and outs, and that was a good opportunity to do.
Because
to
you
do
want
that
to
as well.
know what people want from you and how it all works, because that's the way you have to find yourself through the maze of everything, like talking to concreters, talking to carpenters. You know, like, if you don't know what that is in the beginning, or you don't even know the real terminology for things, then it's really like you come across like, what do you know? You know, like, so that was a good thing to do the things for ourselves, because over these couple of years that we did that, we learned a lot of, we got the connections there, and that was really important too.
Right. And so how long have you guys now been here in Australia?
23 years.
Oh, all right. Local.
Well, that's what a lot of people say, but sometimes you still don't feel local. That's the funny bit.
And then starting the business here, what were some things that were really important to you when you were, I mean, there's one thing that stood out to me with what you were saying just then and in previous conversations is that concept of, from where you guys came from in the Netherlands, where everyone knew everyone, you know, and knowing the people, the connection with people, and even generational knowledge of someone's background meant that it was a whole nother level of trust when it went into building. And that's a big thing you guys then took into when you started the business here and started building for clients.
Yes, and I still try to accommodate for that, because I still have people working for me. Like, we have our electrician, for example. He's already working for us for 23 years, probably, because he started as an apprentice at our own place when we renovated that. Yeah. And his dad took on the electrical part of it, and I liked the way he dealt with everything and the way he set it up. So I asked him again and then again, you know, and you get that relationship going, and then his son sort of followed in his footsteps, and now his son is working for me all the time. So that's it's awesome. Like it sort of still is in there, you know, like, although of course times change, and I think the mentality of a lot of people change. But if you see, like, Hervey Bay was only a small place, definitely back then was a lot smaller than now. Yeah. You see the change in that aspect, that people are less loyal, and a lot of people don't see the need for it.
We actually learned that a little bit the hard way. That's something, it's not that you're not proud of what happened, but like, everything is like a learning curve. And it made you actually realize, because we came from such a trustworthy village mentality, like, that's in the beginning, especially how we approach building, as like sort of with a handshake, like, if I give you my word, that's what I do.
Word. Yeah.
But
I mean, you stood back to build. You stayed back for the butcher.
And then we found out that not all the people are the same, because you could come across people that are not as trustworthy. And as I said, we learned that the hard way. But like, what you actually learn from it, that it is really important, like, to have things in place, like your contracts, your procedures, like the way you deal with it. And because trust is really good, but you need to build on,
and you have to sort of have it documented. If you can't fall back on a document that you have, you know, like, that you said, like, well, this is what we agreed on, or, you know, like, as well with the customer as with your subcontractors, then it's really hard to prove that. You know, like, you can say, like, oh yeah, but you said, but I meant this, you know, like, and then you get that gray area, which is always hard to define, and it's better to have it actually on paper or in an email, or at least if it's written down, you can trace it back, and you can say, like, well, this is what was mentioned.
And when it comes to doing what you guys do, what's the big passion behind that for you guys? I know you have different passions within building and within the business, but what are those for you guys?
I think actually we both have a different passion, but then again, it's also a combined passion, because my passion is like, I'm meet the people like right in the beginning when they go through the whole design stage. And for me, it's all about connection and really getting to know the people that you are going to work with, like to see what their passion is, to feel like how they want to live their life, their family. So when you design a house, it's like it's going to become their home. Like when they have kids, like which rooms are the kids going to be in? How are they going to live through the next whatever years? Just all of that, like really feel that connection and give them something that they can come back to. Because a house is one of the most important things. It's like when you live, actually your whole life with your family, with your friends. Yeah, so that's really important to me.
Well, for me, it's more, it is important that the house will reflect what the people you build it for, like that they can feel proud or happy, like all these things combined, so that they really see their own little thing happening and feel good about it. Plus the challenge in every time creating a new place. Like we don't do, we only do one-offs. We never want to repeat ourselves. So it's always something unique that we put there.
And it can designed and built for that family.
Yes. And it can be a big place or a small place. For me, that doesn't really matter. I rather see a nice end result, like that you can feel that the people are happy with it and pleased with what the outcome is. And that's a good thing for me. That's an important thing for me.
And you are really impassioned about innovation. Sometimes I think like the harder it gets, the more he likes it.
Talk to me more about that.
I was going to say it's not always financially the best.
I sometimes get challenges or plans, and then my boys say like, "Oh, Jesus, why did you take that on?" But I just want to put something new every time and try to stay ahead of everybody who's there. Like with setting up something different, so that people can actually look at it and say like, oh, this is different, and they might like it or not. It's not really the point. It is more like they can see that somebody put effort in every which way you want to see it, and that could be in the style they use, the materials they use, or the technology inside. Some people are going, well, and that's what I can find now. I mean, and we're only living in a regional place. It's not like the big city where everybody is already sort of on top of each other and knows all these things. Technology is now starting to come in the houses for us, and it really is like everybody wants security. Like you name it, and they have it now, and it's all there. It's all available. So they want to be able to look into the place over on the phone and make sure that everything is connected and whatnot, and that everybody has individual access, so that they know which kid is coming home and all these kind of things. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, well, we only had a key when we were young.
But also with what you were saying just before about innovation, with the environment is really important to us. Like when we migrated to Australia, like we just love like what Australia has to offer. And it is. We are still really, really grateful for all of that, and we need to make sure that that's going to stay as pure as possible. So therefore, we will actually, try to incorporate that also in the designs.
Yeah, and still that connection with, for example, the Netherlands is still there. So you look at the way they're building there, approaching things there now, and then you see that they want to build carbon neutral homes. And when I tell that somebody here, they look at you like, carbon neutral home, what is that? That's the first question they ask you. And then you say like, well, you try to offset everything that you use inside the home, that you have a good outcome out of it. When the house is on the end of their lifespan, that they can recycle almost everything what's in there. the materials that you use, and the good thing is we use a lot of timber here in Australia, so you offset already a lot of carbon inside the frames, inside all the timber that you use. But there are more things out there that we can change over time, and I don't expect that to happen like this. It's not gonna happen over not even over 5 or 10 years, because we're still looking at all these things, and they have to work for the situation where you're in. Like when you look at, for example, a house building in Victoria will be a complete different one than when you build a house up in the Northern Territory or here in Queensland. We have all different climates within the same country, and they all have to do different things.
And you can actually use
and
nature.
You can use that.
You can use nature to actually build.
And and luckily they are more and more aware of these things. So everybody starts to look into it, and that's a good thing. And I think we'll get there in the end. We'll get a right outcome everywhere. So that's for me is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ingrid, one thing I find quite unique, obviously a number of things unique with you guys, but that innovation side of things from you, France, and then from you, Ingrid, your passion and background in design, where does that, for the clients that you work with, where does that come into play, and how does that, do you feel, provide them with most value?
Yeah, I think straight from the beginning, like when you can find out who they are, you can tap into that. But also sometimes because we have different ideas, you also give them like your knowledge as like, well, how would it feel if we would use that? And it's like, oh, I never thought about it, because a lot of people just follow the trends.
Okay.
And what we try to do is actually step away from the trend and just to be different, so that not in a couple of years' time they say like, it's getting out of fashion, like we need to renew. Like, I think that's actually a really good feeling, like just to be able, and it's maybe also with having a different background and also going back to family in the Netherlands, it's different there, and like just to make that combination, things are, just...
Do you find that's often comes into play when someone's talking to you about their wants versus their needs? Or they say they want this, but when you get to know them, it's like, it's like, I think this is more so what you guys need. And when you present it to them, they're like, oh, wow, that's... Yeah.
Well...
That's always...
It is. But and maybe not only in design, but like we often hear like, we need to build like a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. All right, well, look at your family. Are you planning to have more kids or... No, not really. Oh, well, why do you need 4 bedrooms when your plan is like to only have 1 child, as an example, or like sometimes just for a couple without kids? And it's just because it's the norm, or the bank says like, it has the most value when you do that. Yeah. Well, not necessarily, because like it's really finding out how the people want to live. Like, do they want to?
What do they value most?
Yeah, and sometimes by talking to them, they actually are like, they are right. Like we don't need a media room because we don't really like watching TV. Yeah. We rather be outside in the garden. So, and then you don't build a media room, but you make actually
outdoor living.
Garden,
bigger, better.
Yeah, or indoor-outdoor living, or that sort of things. Yeah. So,
When you point it out to the people, they sometimes are surprised when you tell them, like, for example, when they want a 2-bedroom, or when they would like to have a 2-bedroom, or they don't have the need for a 4-bedroom one, and you explain it to them, and you say, like, well, there are more people out there like you, and they will be looking for a 2-bedroom home once you want to sell it, if you want to sell it. Yeah. It's not that the market is only there for 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes. And that's something that they say like, I never looked at it that way. And then you say like, well, there's definitely a market out there, because we see now a lot of people that want to sort of have a smaller footprint. With kids leaving their homes, what's the point in having all that space?
Trying to maintain a clean and tidy 4-bedder when it's just 2 of you.
Yeah.
That's just work.
Yeah, no, it is, and like you can build multifunctional rooms, or when you say a smaller footprint, people are scared. But then if you explain to them like what height does, like height and light, just to make a home feel a lot bigger than it actually is, like in square meters, like especially like with all the prices going up. Sometimes you can just build alternatives and it works
then you still get
even better.
The outcome that they're ultimately wanting to achieve. Yeah, that's a very, very important thing. And that probably comes back to the value when it comes to a client involving you in a discussion earlier on rather than later on during design phase or...
Yeah, and like when I'm designing, Francis is always looking over my shoulder like, oh, this is a really expensive feature that you're building in there. And it's like, oh, that was the budget. All right, well, we'll just go back.
People have a budget. And we try to tell them from day dot that we try to work towards that budget, because it's no point having a nice plan which you can't afford. We want to have a good outcome in the end, and we want to find that balance in there. So sometimes the people up their budget a bit, because then they realize like, oh, hang on, if I do this, then I can have that and that and that. And some people will have that money for it, but some people just don't. And it's fine. Yeah. But once we have probably a bit more trust in each other, it's more open, and then you get the best end results. That's what I find when people can speak freely and say like, and I really can't afford that. Well, fine. Then we have to look at an alternative way of doing it and maybe getting the same outcome.
Open conversation's always much healthier.
Yeah, it's just a lot easier then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd like to take the conversation a bit towards, I guess, more our relationship, if you don't mind. We've been now working together for almost a year to dot, but we've been talking for longer than that. Maybe for those listening, describe a bit about what you guys, how business was like when we first started talking, and what interested you in talking to us.
So a couple of years ago, we were building for almost everybody that came knocking on our door, like, can you do this for us?
Yep.
And we found that at a certain point, sometimes we felt we could do more or different, because, well, you didn't even really realize that you were searching for a certain sort of people because we were too busy building or renovating. And
just for the person who was in front of you.
Yep. Because if you don't set like who you are, then when you don't know yourself who you are, how can people then know who you are? And because we were building for everybody, we didn't really make enough income. And I think that was one of the things, like you when I met you the first time, I'm just trying to think where that was, but
down in Adelaide, I think. You were visiting your daughter in Adelaide, and we were running a workshop down there.
Yes, you were running a workshop, and and actually just before I saw a couple of things online. Okay. Yes, and I thought like, and you were always talking about like, who are you? How do you want people to see you? And like, especially at that workshop, I thought like, well, this is it. This is what we need. And so that's where we started. And I think it was straight from the beginning that you said like, why do you want to work with us? And I'm like, well, and then you start thinking the other way around. Well, I want to work with them because I need to find out who I am, who we are, and so that we can actually tell that to people. And it probably worked even better as I thought it would do, because once you find out who you are, people see it and people start to trust us. I think especially coming from the Netherlands, it was even more important for us. Because who are those people? Like, you need to be able to tell the story, and like, normally you don't have an opportunity to tell your story to other people, because there's only a really short period of time that you see them, but also like, yeah, it filters, like we attract different people now.
Yeah, we definitely get different people in, and I think they come in with a different view towards us, because some of them said already, like, it feels so familiar. But I think they've seen, you know, like some of the footage or whatever they've seen.
Yeah.
They sort of tend to know us already before they come in. So and that you can sort of
What's that like for you guys?
feel that. Well,
When you feel that?
it's really good actually. It gives you, how do you say that? A bit more confidence. I don't know how you say. I'm not a salesperson, so you don't want to sit down there with people and try to convince them why they should build with us.
But it's even like if we look at our own video, it's like, oh wow, we are actually doing a good job.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's a feeling like it feels a bit strange, like to be proud of yourself, but even the video shows it. Like, and actually, if you think about it, yes, we are really proud of what we are doing.
I think that's really, really great to hear, and to hear you articulate like that, because that is sometimes a concern for some of the builders we work with, where it's like, I want to be humble. I don't want to be out there, you know, showboating and all that and showing off. But when you see your story, you should be proud of it. It shouldn't be at all a feeling of, oh, look at me, because then that's really missed the mark.
But like, if you look back and you see what you actually achieve for people, you want to do that for more people, like, because you actually change their life and you do that. So I think it is great.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned there at the beginning, the figuring out who you guys were, in a sense of clarity on that and clarity then to communicate that. The big part of that starts back with story development, or the story development session, those modules. How did you find that process, and what was the sort of outcome that you really gained from that process?
Well, at first I was a bit suspicious about all these questions, but I must say
I appreciate the honesty, Brad.
no. But I mean, when I look back at it and I see the outcome of it, I think like, well, you hit the nail on the mark, because it is really, it really brought forward
what you wanted to do.
What we wanted to do, or what we actually wanted to do, but sort of not knowing it, or not realizing it, or maybe not knowing how to profile that.
Yeah.
And I think with the way you sort of give us the questions and whatnot, you sort of bring forward, and in the end you address that in a way that we thought like, oh, and that's maybe why Ingrid said like, oh, we're actually proud of, when we look at it, proud of ourselves that we did it that way, but we sort of didn't realize that. And that's good to see that now, and it definitely works, because we can feel that in the amount of leads we had in it was just.
If we look back at especially the last year, it's just a total different clientele that is actually starting to get in contact, and like the last couple of jobs that we have done and actually are doing, they are all like the work that we want to do, the work that he wants to do, that is really challenging, that takes him to the job site the whole time. Not enough in the office, but...
So you've got a happier France at home?
She doesn't see me that much.
So that's good.
Yeah, but it's definitely bringing automatically the clients that we wanted to attract. Yeah. So.
Oh, good. That's really good.
Good.
To hear.
It's really good.
And really good to hear that what you said earlier, France. It's given you confidence, because I know when we originally started talking about working together, and that was, you and I had a first conversation, Ingrid, and you guys had challenges in the past with bad clients. It was very unfortunate, and that kind of put a bad taste in your mouth about, do we want to keep doing this? Yeah, and that knowing that there's got to be something different out there. There's got to be better clients out there, and you guys had such a passion for what you did and knew that what you offered was unique, but
Well, it was really like up or under. We were at that stage that like, we had a really, really, really bad client and not having procedures in place.
Yep.
So that was a lot of effort, like just to put it all in place. And then you go to the financial extent of like doing the video. But it was almost that I just had that like, it needs to happen now, because otherwise we keep attracting the wrong people.
Yeah.
And it all worked out. So it's really,
definitely.
really grateful.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so, well, I'm really, really glad to hear that. And really excited for year 2. What does next year look like for you guys? What are you guys excited about when it comes to thinking of the future for Vivair Homes?
First of all, our own project, our own development.
Nice.
We're hoping that we can start pulling that off next year.
Yeah.
We don't know when yet, but we're all getting there. It's going a bit slower than we thought because of council and like all the little hoops you have to jump through. And then we have still a couple of nice projects just starting now. And we started just one big reno which we really like. And then we have 2 new homes coming up where we have to start on, so that will be a really good thing. And then we have the unit development for ourselves.
Yep.
So there's plenty of work out there, and we have enough inquiry. We still have enough things sitting there that we haven't finalized yet. So it's like does the client say yes, or like and when that's. But there is definitely enough work there for us. So I'm not worried about that as much, and the work that we have in our books is actually nice. Well, the people that we're sort of looking for, so that's a good thing.
And one thing you mentioned a few things there I want to touch on. A lot of people that come to us, or a lot of the builders that know about us, they think that we just do video. And I think for you guys, once you come on board, you from what I gauge, you some of the stuff that we help you with, you didn't even know we're doing. Or we're going to do. And apart from creating your stories and that, what are some of the other areas that we help you with, and what have you liked or seen with that?
Richard and
Esther.
Sorry?
Richard and Esther.
Esther. I had to think. They are doing a great job. I think because they know our business and they use images from the video and advertising as such from our photos. They just create advertising, and just the way it's written, it's really, again, like finding that ideal client for us. And that just happens like monthly. And we can even use the advertising that they made. It's from all different angles, like looking at our business and just building trust, building that clients actually come to you. So it's just a continuous thing, and then adding on to the video.
And another aspect in terms of what we have set up for you guys is the BV Amplify.
Yes.
What's that like to use, and what's that like to have access to that?
People actually, there is a questionnaire that is actually attached to it. So when a lead comes in, it just automatically goes to a questionnaire if they wanted to go to the second step.
Yeah.
And from this questionnaire, we can actually, of course, answer them first, find out who they are, what their idea is, when they want to do a building or a renovation. And automatically, they get feedback, either directly from us, or if it is just a lead that we need to keep warm for maybe in a couple of months' time, then it's like an automatic email that gets sent to us, to them. And attached with questions that they have, answers to building questions. So that works.
Do you guys,
really
in your questionnaire, I know some of our builders aren't necessarily comfortable with that sort of final question there in terms of why should we consider
yes,
building for you?
issue.
Yeah, you guys have that question.
Yes.
Yeah. What has been some of how did you feel originally when we proposed putting a question like that in? You know, asking the prospective client why you as the builder should consider building for them.
Well, I think actually it's a really nice, it's a question that sort of triggers a response from them. They sort of have to, how do you say that, acknowledge a bit more about us, you know, like why they would like us to or why they would like to use us for their build, and that gives a good feeling to us, because if they write down everybody wants
because
to hear
I can't find anybody else.
Yeah, that's of course an answer that is a bit like, oh, okay, if that's the reason, that would be pretty poor.
For sure.
But some people, they have followed us on social media or whatever, and then you see that they are interested in that or have spoken to former clients.
Yeah.
And then when you get that sort of feedback, then you think like, oh, okay, they did already some research, so they looked into us to make sure that they do that next step. Plus the fact that when you fill in a questionnaire, it's the same. When I would look at the website, 9 of 10 times when they start asking me a questionnaire, if I'm not really interested in the product, I sort of skip the website. I think, I don't want to fill that in. It's waste of time. But if you're really interested in it, you're gonna sit down and say, like, all right, here you go, email, whatever. You know, like you can return my email and this and that. So then
it shows their level of engagement.
Yeah, it shows their engagement, which is good. That's already a first step, and you don't have a tire kicker there that only wants to be there for a price or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we don't want to put all that effort in only to give you a price. That's not who we are and what we want to do. So it really works.
That's good, because it's a question we sometimes get pushback on from some of our builders. They think you can't put that question in there, and you get funny answers. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the answers, and you think, oh, excellent, I can waste no time with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's definitely what we did. We had some of these questionnaires that we thought like, nah, we're not going yet with these people.
And you didn't have to waste time going out to site and getting them, or.
If you get a questionnaire and they only fill in their name and phone number and email address, even not a work address, and none of the questions are answered, it's like, sorry. And then they get that automatic email like, I'm really sorry, we take your inquiry pretty serious, but we don't have time.
Yeah, nice. Well, maybe for the listeners, because a lot of the guys listening to this are the builders who are maybe considering working with us. I mean, our team love working with you, and I love seeing that progression with what you guys have achieved. But it was a big decision. You know, it wasn't something you just took on a whim. What were some of the I guess the fears you guys had before coming on board?
Because nothing is set in stone, especially with advertising or with these kind of things. We're not familiar with it. That's another thing. And then you think like, well, they can say a lot. But they have to sort of prove it. Yeah. And we must say we were actually blown away with the fact when it started to come in, you know, again, and then within 2 months, I think, not even 2 months, the lead-in started to go like, oh, what are we going to do with all these people? We can't take all that work on.
For me, it was really important that actually the people would know who we were.
Yeah.
And there's only one way of doing that, and it's like to show them who you are. And I think that was just, for me, a no-brainer. It's like, well, we are honest. We want people to actually, know what we are doing and what we can do for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. And what do you guys do? Because what you raised there, you know, all this interest and engagement and demand for you guys. You go, oh no, what are we going to do with that? That's a big fear for a lot of people who want to work with us. Oh, I don't want to deal with that. What have you guys done, or what has maybe Richard helped you guys with when it comes to once the demand increased? What does that enable you guys then to do?
Well, you can start filtering. Then you can really start looking at things that you really would like to do. You know, like, oh look, they look interesting from that first perspective. You know, like, and you say like, oh, I would like to spend some more time on this. That one, now you can cancel that. Now we're not going to do this. Now we're not doing. We send them a nice email and then say like,
it's not easy to say no.
No,
but like,
it's not.
It's not, but it just gives you the opportunity to actually look at your business and to see what can be done. And if you can't do it, well, then that's it. But it just gives you options.
Yeah. What's it been like for the team? Because I know you guys have family members who work in the business. You're very passionate about the team you have and the culture. The position that you guys were in prior to working with us and compared to where it is now, what's it like for the team?
I think they, how do you say that? They found a purpose for themselves. You know, like they now are more focused on the things that they're doing because they can see the change in all that. It's not like we're just doing another door or we're just doing another this or that. No, it's like we do specific things, and we've been asked to do these jobs by these people, so we have to make sure that we do the right thing, and I think that gave them a bit of
passion,
proud to be proud of. They I think they're more committed now. They definitely changed that attitude for them, and I think they now sort of understand what we meant with all that, because we couldn't really explain it to them, but now they start to see the difference, and when they go somewhere and they look into somebody else's place or see somebody else something doing, before they would never mention that, and now they say like, have you seen doing what they're doing over there? That can't be right. Can it? You know, like, and you get these kind of questions, and then you say like, well, there's always a difference.
Yeah.
And so
they're taking more ownership as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Love that. Well, what's for the listeners, for those people who are thinking about maybe reaching out and talking to us, what is advice or information or an experience that you'd like to share with them?
I would say take the first step.
Yeah.
Just give you a call or email you and just start discussing with it, and then see where you end up. It might be not for everyone, but definitely worked for us.
Yeah.
The building industry, and especially it is build up trust. If the people don't trust you, it's really hard like to get the perfect end product. But if you are passionate about like getting that perfect end product for them, they need to trust you. And this is actually a way of doing it. Like, because when you know people, that's when you trust them. If you don't know them, there's always that bit of doubt.
Yeah.
So the more you can actually show them who you are and what your beliefs are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should have done it earlier.
Let's put all the things.
Nice, guys. Well, Ingrid, Frans, thank you very much for jumping on here and sharing your journey and experience. And yeah, we're really excited to keep working with you guys and keep helping you guys succeed. So thank you.
Couple more years.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.